Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Good morning. You were listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. Happy New Year. I am Catherine Bell, and this is the Dream Journal, a weekly show where we explore the healing powers of your nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with you. Okay, in the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. So take a breath into that beautiful music. Sympathesium. It's created today, fresh for you by Rick Kleffel. Sympathesium, like a sympathetic museum. Here we are. The Dream Journal. Happy New Year. We are here live on New Year's Day to do a bit of deep dive into your dreams. Kimberly Mascaro is our guest on the Dream Journal today as we talk about visitation and announcing dreams. Kim will also share some diagnostic dreams from her own recent experience with a chronic illness diagnosis. So, I'm Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. The Dream Journal is also a podcast, so you can look for that in all of your regular podcast places or go to the KSQD website, ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. Yeah. So, I like to start with my current dream work. And my headphone's a little glitchy, but I think I'm going to be all right here. So, I have this puppy dog. I woke up a couple nights ago with this little puppy dog following me around, it's just about could fit into my hand. And I was a little anxious around it, I want to roll over it and crush it. And I started to kind of make friends with it though. So carrying it around in a basket. So there's something about making friends with a part of myself that's, I don't know, very, very visceral or something, whatever a little doggy is. For me, it just feels like a little part of myself I'm getting comfortable with. So, I want to remind everybody that we're going to be doing call-ins during the last 20 minutes of the show, or you can email us at any time at onair@ksqd.org. Rick is going to be standing by, checking emails. And I want to say hi to our guest. Hey, Kim.
Hi, Catherine. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I met Kim, I believe, in Roll Duck at the IASD conference a couple years ago, and we just had some great conversations, and so I'm really happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I was wondering where we met for the very first time.
Oh, probably before then.
But Roll Duck, that's good memories.
Well,
because good memories out there.
I'm very new to the ISD, really only about 3-4 years, so everybody was new to me at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, what a great place to meet someone new.
Totally. We're going to talk actually a little bit more about the conference coming up in July in Tucson, which we're both of. I just submitted my piece, so I'm super excited.
Awesome.
But let me introduce you. This is Kimberly R. Mascaro, PhD, LMFT, a holistic psychotherapist, nonfiction author, virtual artist, and university faculty, with over 20 years professional experience in the field of mental behavioral health. Kim is passionate about wellness and spiritual development, holding certifications in hypnotherapy and yoga nidra. Dr. Kim is the author of 2 nonfiction books, Dream Medicine, The Intersection of Wellness and Consciousness, and Extraordinary Dreams, Visions, Announcements, and Premonitions Across Time and Place. And those are quite some titles to unpack there. Her presentations and workshops are rooted in consciousness, dreamwork, and self-care, and her webpage, consciouschimera.com, CHIMERA, Conscious Chimera. So, Kim, do you prefer Kim or Kimberly? Start with that.
Kim is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Kim is just fine. Thank you.
Excellent. So how did you kind of first get started with interested in dreams? Did you know something you'd known about your whole life, or was it something you came to later?
No, there wasn't really a dream tradition in my family that was explicit. And in childhood, I, definitely had dreams I can still remember today. But it wasn't, it wasn't really a thing for me. It was later in life when I was kind of just searching for something more that I came across. I was not completely satisfied with the religious or spiritual traditions that I was aware of.
Right.
And I came across, being from the San Francisco Bay Area, found a group of, they identified themselves as Gnostic mystics. And so coming out of the Christian mysticism tradition that were offering free courses. And that's how it started. I started there where learning about lucid dream work, out-of-body experiences, precognitive type dreams, things like that. And side dreaming. And what I really liked about them.
Side dreaming?
Yeah, anything, precognitive or things related to ESP.
Right.
And it was really cool because it felt right to me because it wasn't, preachy or dogmatic.
Right.
And they just provided education while simultaneously teaching us skills without telling us much of what was going to happen. Right. And I really was just set to say, you know what, I need to know if these experiences are real, and so through the way and instruction that they provided, through the way they taught us, I had my first lucid dream, my first out-of-body dream or out-of-body experience. Right. There's still some talk about what exactly these phenomena are. But after a couple of those, it changed my life because I, for the first time, had the direct experience, not just reading it in a book, but the lived experience of knowing that you can be conscious while your body is asleep and you can go places.
Okay. Oh, very cool.
It really rocked my world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my friends and family or anybody I shared it with thought I completely lost it. Probably completely bonkers. But
gone over to the dream side.
Yeah. And so it was so weird because I didn't even know about the IASD. I would, but then through, I think I have some of my details wrong, but I do remember in doctorate school learning about, and I know we'll talk about the announcing dream phenomena along with visitation dreams today. And it was that I started learning about what those were and meeting people in the dream world. And I got so blessed to have Stanley Krippner be on my
doctoral community?
Yes. Nice. He was one of my readers, and it just went from there. So it wasn't your typical path into dreaming. So many people that you and I both know say this was an experience they had from childhood, and that they weren't very happy to know that their parents would say things to them like, it's just a dream, it doesn't mean anything. But of course, from dream science, we know that dreams are real experiences. We know physiology changes. And to tell a child that your dream isn't real or what they perceived isn't real, in a way, is like telling them their feelings aren't real.
Yeah, I agree.
As a therapist, I have strong feelings about how we talk to children.
Yeah, but as a parent myself, you also want your kid to feel better, and how do you teach the kids to make friends with their emotions when you're still learning how to make friends with your own emotions? That was my journey as a mother.
And that is a journey, isn't it? Yeah. So it's been a really wild ride, and
so I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about announcing dreams and premonitions, and because I'm not particularly prone to side dreams, but I know people who do, and I'm really curious to hear about some of your experiences of that.
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. To go back in time a little bit, announcing dreams were, again, nothing I really knew about, but I had just started meeting people who were talking about them because my first few years of doctorate school, I was really focused on prenatal and perinatal psychology. And so, of course, when you're looking at that and studying that, you're, of course, looking at the experiences of the mother.
Yeah.
And so I was meeting women who, some would just dream of circumstances around the birth, things that we know are helpful in relieving anxiety and such. But then there were other dreams that stood out to be more unique, that were almost like a type of visit, let's say, where the pregnant mothers would say, no, this wasn't just a dream of a baby. I dreamt of my baby. and the dream was extremely different than any other dream I've had.
Oh, interesting.
Now, these things have a lot in common with visitation dreams of the deceased, and we can talk about that too.
Right.
So some put them all under the category of visitations, but announcing dreams, have that similarity,
right.
Especially vivid, lucid. It could be easily recalled years, decades, even later. Highly impactful. So
a big
I give you some
owner.
examples. Yeah. Let me give you a couple examples.
Please. That'd be great.
So my cousin, who was one of the people that sparked me my inspiration to want to actually do this for my doctoral dissertation, because I was studying the dreams of pregnant women. So she had a series. Now I'm going by memory here, so forgive me. She had a series of a couple dreams.
Yes,
Thank you. Where she was pregnant and had a dream where it wasn't just again a baby in a dream. She was certain it was the one she was carrying. Now some announcing dreams come before conception, at conception, and all during pregnancy.
Right.
But I was looking at ones in my dissertation that occurred during pregnancy. So for her, she's early on in her pregnancy, and she has a very vivid dream where this baby says, "I'm not your baby."
Wow.
And then afterward, she had a miscarriage shortly after.
She had a what immediately after, sorry?
A miscarriage.
Oh, I see.
And so she did not expect
Yeah.
to get pregnant anytime soon after this, but she did, and was worried through the pregnancy that this one may be lost as well, and recalled then a dream where, again, a very different baby that she perceived as the baby she was carrying told her that I am your baby, and even announced its name, or his name.
Oh, wow.
So I leave some details out just for privacy,
Well, of course.
Of course, right? Because there's a little more juicy details.
Right.
But yeah, so that was a really, really neat one, and that pregnancy held. And
what do you think of the point of these? Are just kind of reassuring the mother, or to like make a request or something?
Well, that's the thing. I found a lot of interesting themes. So in my dissertation, some of the top themes that came up were confidence, increasing confidence, bonding, reducing anxiety, and things like that. There's other interesting ones where the mother will be lucid in the announcing dream. One, I remember having a dialogue. This is in my first book, Extraordinary Dreams, not my second. In the first book, it has a chapter or two even about announcing dreams, but not in this second one here in Dream Medicine.
Okay.
But she was arguing with the child about the name in the
funny.
lucid dream.
Oh my God, that's
I
great.
just care. Yeah, it was. They came and just sat down next to each other. And she goes, "Okay, I know your gender now, and or your sex that you're going to be born as, I should say," and had a bit of a discussion about the name, and so lots of really, really interesting dreams, and the child to be from the women I at least interviewed, and the ones that filled out my questionnaires, the child to be can appear from as early as, infant, all the way up to an elementary school child, to convey some type of message. Sometimes it's the name, sometimes it's a situation, but a lot of them will give mothers confidence. So mothers that were really scared about raising a child as a single mom, maybe with no finances or this or that, may be shown in the dream how it would be. And they would wake up and go, you know what, I can do this. So with that said, I found that I was discovering that announcing dreams, and this is why I felt they were so important. One, announcing dream could have an impact on medical decisions the mother was making.
I bet, yes.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Yeah. So from decisions around whether to terminate the pregnancy or not, and then decisions around medical things. So one canceled an appointment for an amniocentesis, for example, because she was so certain that everything's fine here. I already met the baby, saw what
so she actually canceled it or something?
Yep,
What you're saying?
she canceled her appointment.
Okay.
Yeah, others canceled abortion appointments and all kinds of interesting phenomena. So while I didn't have any judgment or agenda for what the women did, you know, as far as their choice as a woman, I did find it interesting how just one of these dreams can just really impact, you know, a woman or young, you know, mother to be if she so chooses. So it was an interesting dissertation, and after that I said, "Ooh, I want to turn this into a bit of a book and expand it," and that's how my first book, Extraordinary Dreams, came to be.
Well, you were talking also about like psychology around birth and pre-birth. And you know, I had was born with the umbilical cord around my neck. I was supposedly a blue baby, and you know, I've wondered if that trauma is something that kind of stays with me. Why it's kind of hard to feel my body, like, but you know.
Yeah, pre and perinatal psychologists would have a lot to say about that. Yeah, and how we know the body remembers everything, and that memory is well intact in us. It doesn't necessarily live in the brain. You know, it lives in our whole body and being, maybe even outside of the body as far as memory goes. We're still just trying to understand it. But what we do know finally is that the body keeps the score, as Bessel van der Kolk wrote, and that we don't need a hippocampus to be fully up and running, you know, which happens around the age of, you know, 2 or 3. But we don't need language structures and these other things to hold memory. Our body remembers way before language or narrative. So that means we wouldn't have necessarily a recall or a narrative memory of it.
Right.
But we would have a behavioral, physiological memory of it.
Like I have the sense of being traumatized sometimes, and I don't have any particular memory around that.
Yes. So happens all the time with babies and birth as well.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a very
like
intense experience. I mean, birthing, being born into the world is very intense.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And it's amazing so many of us do so well.
I'm just glad finally the field is starting to understand memory and the impact on the body and how we act out our memories. We don't have to have a narrative recollection of them.
All right. Well, we're going to take a little break here and play a piece of heart math music. You're listening to the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and our guest is Dr. Kimberly Mascaro. So glad to have you on the show today. And we're going to play a little piece of heart math music, which is something that I got into a while ago. I grew up in Boulder Creek, and you may notice it's similar to Rick's music, but you'll see, I think it has a similar kind of engaging qualities. So this is KSQD Santa Cruz, the Squid, 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. All right. You are listening to The Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell. Our guest today is Kimberly Mascaro. And we've been talking about these announcing dreams where the baby announces itself to the mother. And there's also the case where people who have already passed away can come in dreams, and that's called visitation dreams. I also want to just promo that pretty soon we're going to talk about health, wellness, and healing dreams. And some of Kim's particular experiences with these kind of healing dreams. And the third topic we have on our agenda here is setting up a solid dream-based practice to include sleep hygiene, meditation, dream journaling, making dream art, and joining a dream group. Those are 3 great topics, Kim. Where are you at?
Yeah, well, since we are talking about announcing and visits in the dream state, I thought maybe if it would be okay to just share a couple visitation dreams of deceased so that listeners can hear how they can be quite different. And then maybe we should jump right into health.
Okay.
Well, So as we know, visitations can come in the form of bringing announcements of a baby to be, and we know there's several of those in the Bible as well. So it's very, in other religious writings. So very interesting. Dreams of the deceased are a little bit different, and there's a lot to be said. In ISD, we have several members that write and research this phenomena.
Oh, yeah.
So I was not going to talk too much about the science behind it or anything, or how it impacts the dying. But what I did want to talk about a little bit is how it has impacted me as a living person. And I'll share just a couple dreams real quick, but similarly, visitation dreams can be really highly sensorial. So one isn't just, or very vibrant, even lucid. And so one isn't just saying, oh, I've dreamed, or I have a memory of a person who died a long time ago in my dream. But instead, what we call a visitation dream can feel like you're having an actual visit with that person. And so one that is over a decade ago that struck me was with a neighbor. I didn't know him too well. So I found it really interesting that this neighbor, that I had a visitation dream with this neighbor. Uh-huh. And so that this was someone in a community that I lived in that was a small, like a small little townhouse complex. Mm-hmm. And everyone in the community called him Chief. This dream was quite a long time ago, but in my journal I write, it's a bright sunny day. My bedroom window is open wide, and I'm sitting on my bed looking out the window facing the community courtyard fountain. Everything is vibrant and colorful, and Chief, as we called him, walks toward me without his cane and appears more youthful than usual. I know he had died recently, but that was not a concern. So in the dream, I was aware he was dead. Chief is able to come right up to the edge of my bedroom window, since the large green bush that exists in front of the window, and the physical reality is not there in the dream. So this allows me to climb out on the windowsill, and we greet each other, and we have a nice interaction there.
Mm-hmm. And whereas in waking life you hadn't really had that many interactions with him.
No, just
just like a neighborly way, like, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I was surprised by that. Huh. And I also found it interesting that, like many others, they say when we see the deceased, they're not like they were before they died. They're often younger, more vibrant, full of life. So that was interesting.
I think they can be more forgiving. They kind of have things figured out a little bit more, like, oh, well, sorry about that.
I like to share that one because some people may wonder, is it only my family that I'm going to dream about, or only a best friend? And I would say, no, it could be about anyone. And that can be surprising. That was a little surprising for me. But what it did for me emotionally was just have me feeling more settled about the experience, because I didn't get to say goodbye to him,
Oh, yeah.
And then
chance to be with him and say goodbye in the dream, even, just to be with him a little longer. Yeah, because there's some things like we were talking before, like the dream itself is an experience. It's not like you have to interpret that. Well, what does it mean that I visited about had a visit with my neighbor? It's like, no, I actually just had a visit with my neighbor. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could just be. It can just be. We can be with it.
It's like that little dog in a basket that I've been carrying around with me lately. I don't know if you heard my check-in at the top.
I did. With the little
dog
puppy
in a basket. Yeah.
Little dog. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your diagnostic dreams. I'm very excited to hear about some of your experience, and also keeping in mind just share what you're comfortable sharing, and that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we do know that immune disorders, chronic illnesses, are on the rise, extreme rise. And which is scary, right? So anyone with the immune disorder, from autoimmune all the way across the spectrum to cancers, we can, and I'm sure for any other condition, but I'll just speak of the ones I'm more familiar with, that we can have dreams that warn us that we may need to make some lifestyle changes, and we can have dreams that can direct us to maybe what we can eat, how we can change our behaviors.
Health advice. Yep.
All of that, just in general.
Well, I get that in dreams fairly often. Like I'll wake up and thinking about an orange. Oh, an orange. Yes, I'll go have an orange.
Right, right. Yeah, I do the same, and I especially pay attention now. But there were a series of dreams before I was diagnosed in the end of 2019. Would you like it if I read a few and we can just discuss them?
Sure, that'd be great. I think
Okay,
it'd be interesting to hear some of the dreams.
Sure, sure. So there were several in the spring of 2019. Not sure what it was about, especially March, around that time. Not sure what it was about that month, but around March, for whatever reason, I had several through that month and after as well. And so this one, I think I was living a very busy lifestyle that just was not healthy for me anymore. So in the dream, I'm in my vehicle and I'm the driver. I safely arrive at my destination, but it's overheated. The vehicle's overheating. I see a little symbol lit up indicating that the vehicle was operating too high. I worry about how I will get back or make the return trip. It's best to drive slower and not use the air conditioning. I'm thinking in the dream. It is necessary to look out for how much I drive and the manner in which I drive. This can prevent overheating. So that was the dream. So I had these insights at the end of that short dream. And then, the obvious warning of, hey, this symbol is lighting up, flashing. Your vehicle's literally overheating. Yeah, and then kind of just those insights during the dream itself. Also, I had ones around that time where I'd be like packing and repacking, parking, reversing, unpacking, reparking in the same parking space again. It was like almost on a feedback loop, or on a loop.
Interesting, like exploring the body, like checking it over here, see what's happening. Packing, unpacking. Like, well, is it like this, or I'm not sure. Is it like this?
So some of those were or just bringing my attention or providing awareness to myself.
Well, yeah.
So giving me attention that, hey, little tap on the shoulder. Hey, you might need to rethink how you're living and your job, especially because at that time I was doing psychotherapy at that time I was still doing therapy services in 3 different counties.
Ooh, man. Now you're a professor, university professor, I think I read in the.
I'm adjunct faculty, or what they call faculty associate at this time for Arizona State University.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes.
So do you some teaching
and I teach
that?
psychology. Not so much with dreams. I do teach memory and cognition.
Oh, well, that's something I'm very interested in too.
Dreams come up a little bit there.
Well, a lot,
for
sure. The hippocampus and all that is where the memories are stored, right? Isn't that what's so active when we're dreaming? Is the hippocampus, is my understanding.
Actually, to be honest, I will study all kinds of brain functions, and then if I am not looking at them or studying them, let's say every few weeks, I start to forget what does what. It's really bad, and I'm like that with history too.
Well, yeah.
I'm just like, I'll write, by writing, as we'll be so full of history. And then I'll just be like, oh yeah, what year did that guy do that thing?
Well, but the thing is your dreams are sorting them out all the time. Your dreams are sorting. Because, you talked about that this dream coming to say, well, I really should slow down. The way I see it is that the dream is coming because you're already learning that it's time to slow down. It isn't like, I don't see it like a warning, just like, oh, I get it. It feels like this. Once I notice that it feels kind of overheated, then it's easy to slow down.
Yeah, I love that. It's like it's part of like our integration. Yeah, and our coming to awareness and making change. Yeah, I like that. Absolutely.
Very cool. So,
I was going to say, if you want more.
I just want to say it's about 5 more minutes. We're going to open up the phones, and so Eric Nelson is here to kindly agreed to graciously going to answer the phones for us.
Great.
And so in about 5 minutes, I'll just give out the number in case anybody wants to get in line.
Okay.
831-900-5773. But I wanted to just touch on a little before we go to the break came about this dream-based practice. I think there's something really really good about that, like having a whole range of practices that help us stay healthy and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave a little list, which I read earlier, and I think it's just worth reading again because it's, I'm all about the dream, and if you get a solid night's sleep, you're more likely to have a good dream. So
Right.
I'm going to read the list: the sleep hygiene, meditation, dream journaling, and making dream art, as well as joining a dream group. So, like spending time in the dream is like all these different practices, and that's how I run my practice with my dreams, is kind of like this puppy in the basket sitting next to me. So I bring the dream images into my world. I don't lucid dream much, and so part of me is like dream envy about lucid dreaming. But I do what I do, and I can relate to the different things you're saying. I've had maybe a dozen lucid dreams over my life, and they've all been very meaningful. But it's just not a regular thing for me.
I wouldn't say these days especially it's regular for me. It seems like this past a year or two they'll be very spontaneous. Of course, though, from my own history, and I don't know if this is true in general or not, but from my own history, I learned that there are practices I can do that will help. With increased lucidity. And for me, that was especially very regular, consistent meditation.
Oh, there we go.
That seemed to help. And to do certain practices right before bed.
Okay.
But even if these practices don't bring lucidity, they could still, just promote a really healthy, solid, dream-based practice. So those can be things, like that would fall under sleep hygiene category, such as not eating, heavy, greasy meals before bed, getting off electronics a couple hours before bed, starting to just dim the lights. There's things we can do 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, relaxation practices, like maybe taking a warm bath or drinking maybe chamomile tea, something to just start to relax the body.
That helps me. Then I have to wake up to pee in the middle of the night, so I've decided not to do that.
Other people say that. Okay, I still drink tea in the evening, but you are definitely not the first person to say that. Some people, the tea is not the way to go.
No.
Yeah, that's right. My mom has told me the same thing. No tea too late.
But I drink it in the morning,
night.
first thing in the morning. Yeah.
As do I, yeah. And also decluttering the bedroom, which is something I constantly have to work at. Decluttering the bedroom and making it, like an oasis for sleep and dreaming. So I have, some pillows that have, statements about dreaming or meditation on them. Maybe have some plants, just anything that makes the bedroom peaceful and set up for sleep, as opposed to something more intellectual, like lots of books in your computer and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky enough to have an office where all that goes.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice when we have that space, isn't it? No, that's not true for everybody, but we even if with a smaller place, we can still kind of do our best to keep things organized in a way where there's not, that mental clutter, which reflects the clutter of the room. Or vice versa.
You also talk about dream art. To talk about clutter. Clutter shows up in my dreams sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, look at that, pushing back from the edge of the counter.
Yeah. Well, so with dreams, we can take the imagery and sketch it out, paint it, you make it into collage or anything that helps us to see it from different views, different vantage points. But sometimes if you're really, into art, you may even want to use the dreams as inspirations for pieces, pieces that you might even put in an art show, like the ISD Dream Art Show.
Oh, yes. Speaking
Right?
of which,
Yes.
Coming up in July, there's a Tucson conference, which Kim and I are both one of the many people behind the scenes putting it all together. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Live in person, as God willing, the creek don't rise kind of thing. God willing.
Yeah,
COVID,
that's
don't have.
right.
But
And there's a dream art show.
yes, there is. Are you involved with that, Kim? Is that one of the things you're helping out with?
I was on the visual arts committee for a couple years, but I have had, for health reasons, as you know, I've had to pull back on a lot of volunteering. So I'm still on the ethics committee and the board of directors, but I've pulled back from the arts committee right now, and a few other things I was doing outside of ISD just to lighten my load.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Maybe they
yeah.
gotta cool that off a little, like the dream was suggesting. Right.
Do we have a minute where I could share a dream that made for a good art piece?
Oh, God. I'm just thinking, why don't we go to break, and can you share it as soon as we come back?
Sure,
Something to look
sure.
forward to. I'll go ahead also open up the phones, and we'll see if anybody wants to say hello. The number is 831-900-5773, and you are listening to The Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and this is The Squid, K-Squid, 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org, and we'll be right back. We're talking today with Dr. Kimberly Mascaro. My name is Catherine Bell, and this is the Dream Journal. We're here with Kimberly Mascaro. The phones are open if anybody wants to give us a ring, a little jingle jingle. 831-900-5773. And Kim, in the meantime, what's up for you? This is our last segment. This hour always goes by so quickly. Is there anything we haven't really touched on that you want to jump into?
Well, I would like to share an example of a pre-diagnostic dream.
Yeah. Perfect.
That is an example of, somewhere you can take a dream for art and see where it goes. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so in the dream, I'm with a group of female friends, just a few, but two stand out in particular. And one of these friends I've known for a very long time. She's younger than me, and the other one I met through her, and she's older. And those two really stand out in the dream. So one of them does something that in the dream I just describe as it feels divinatory, a charting of some kind. And it's circular and reflects various symbols, images, words, but I don't recognize it. But it's something related to my health, and I know this in the dream.
Okay.
They give me directions and instructions for something I need to do for my health. And so I'm asking you in the dream, like, do I need a special practitioner? Is this a big deal? Is this something huge?
Okay.
I need to figure out what my body needs. I'm assured that this issue isn't huge or life-threatening, but it is a message to attend to my body and psyche and to give it what it needs. I need to make adjustments, take certain vitamins or something, but I don't recall exactly. So I wake up from this dream, as you can imagine, very confused with a lot of questions. But as a dreamer, one thing I could do is, just put myself maybe in a light hypnotic state, and just start to play with symbols and images. And how the way I play with them is over the years, and if people haven't done this yet, maybe it's something to consider, is I just start to collect old magazines and things, and I just rip the pictures out. I rip the good pictures out, and I keep them in a box. And that way, when I feel like I want to collage or understand a dream more, I'll get a piece of cardboard or something, a glue stick, and then if I want to anchor it down. But sometimes I don't. I just want to look at symbols and play with them. So I can come out of a dream, for example, like this, if I'm prepared, go to that box and just start trying to recreate that chart. Because I had the sense in the dream it was a medical chart and a divination chart at the same time. And that also makes sense for me personally, given the women in the dream that were there that I recall.
Wow, that's great.
So there's things we can do. that may give us clues to what's going on. Because in that deeply relaxed state or hypnotic or even a trance state, we can then just start to pick and pull images that may say something to us.
I love what you're saying, Kim. I think it's great to strengthen that connection even in waking life. And I sometimes think the dream practice is like strengthening the intuition, kind of by putting myself in a dreamlike state during the day, like thinking of this puppy in a basket by me. I'm
Absolutely.
just like, I'm keeping like a little thread to the dream world open. And so I feel like, it kind of deepens your intuition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And just look for, synchronicities.
Yeah.
Let's say sometimes, play a game. Robert Moss taught me this, who's a pretty, very strong dreamer and author as well. And, we just kind of throw a question out to the universe, just throw it out there to consciousness and ask a question, and then just take a walk through town. See what's the first thing that pops up.
Right.
Or the first bumper sticker you see.
See what catches your attention, or open a book.
Yeah. So there's things we can do, and think about how beautiful too. I mean, if someone's, let's say a fine artist and they're having dreams like this, think of how beautiful a divination chart with maybe even some medical symbology can be. I'd want snakes in there. Right, like the serpent of transformation and all those things from ancient history that we know were related to medicine back in time.
Well, I just want to throw out the number one more time. We have time for someone to call in if anyone wants to, although we have plenty to chat about too. The number is 831-900-5773. You can also send an email. I think Rick's taking a look at emails. It's onair@ksqd.org. And this is New Year's Day, so I don't want to forget that. That this is Community Radio for you, a live call-in show, and so glad to have you on the air with us, Kim and Rick. Thanks for being here. It's
happy 2022.
Happy 2020. I just can't stop doing with the shows. We actually had a live show last weekend, Christmas Day. I'm like, somebody was available. I'm like, I'm having a show. I really enjoyed the show. It feels like a real labor of love.
Yeah, this is great. It's very cool, and we do know, with New Year's Day, maybe people are waking up.
Rubbing their eyes, going, woo.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's new for you? What are you doing going forward? What are you looking forward to?
Well, of course, I'm definitely looking forward to the conference and hoping, because there we are, we're with our dream tribe, and really hoping that everything can happen. It's hard to know with the state of things, during the pandemic.
But we're optimistic.
Yes, optimistic and hoping that can happen.
Yep.
So
it's a beautiful location in the Tucson desert and like a resort.
Yes.
And it's July 17th or 22nd, I do believe, and asdreams.org is how you find out about it more.
Yes, asdreams.org.
Yep.
It gives you all the details and photos of the beautiful resort we'll be staying in.
And I will say for my listeners that we're nearly at the deadline of submitting your application to do a presentation. So if you have an idea for a workshop or you want to tell your story, you can submit it at asdreams.org, and the deadline is January 10th. So all you dreamers out there who have been thinking about it, go ahead and submit it. It's free, and it just, there'll be a charge to attend the conference, but it's discounted if it's a presenter. And I've just never looked back since I went to the ISD. It's only been about 4 years for me, or maybe 4. Yeah, anyway. But there are people everywhere from artists to scientists to, clinicians, to enthusiasts, just people who wake up in the morning and go, oh, cool dream, and write it down. So there's just a whole range of people all interested in dreams.
Yeah, and I really love how we have so many tracks, for presentations. So if someone wants to go and, I get continuing education units for their license, they can go to the clinical, the presentations in the clinical track. People who are interested in art and poetry maybe want to do workshops related to that and dreaming.
And there's a whole track on the psi and lucid dreaming. And
yes.
Is that where you tend to present, Kim? Is that where you?
I often do present, in the extraordinary
Yep.
and side dreams.
Yep. That
For
track.
example, this time I'm in the process of organizing a panel for dreams and health,
Oh, nice.
where we'll be talking about these things, that we're talking about right here.
Oh, like the sleep hygiene kind of thing, the
What-
practices, or
Well, some of that, but also dreams that impacted the panel presenters' health. So we're all going to talk
the
about
health and healing dreams. Oh, I got it. Yeah, diagnostic dreams. Oh, very cool. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, because there's so many.
Oh, well, there's so many
I've shared a
topics.
couple with you today, but there's a lot, and we talked about the two I shared today were really more pre-diagnostic, but. A lot of times when someone is connected to their dreaming life and has some type of diagnosis, dreams can guide you through the whole thing. So I've been dealing with my chronic illness since the end of 2019. It was October 2019 when I was diagnosed. And it's since then I've had a slew of dreams after the diagnosis, that have showed me what foods to eat, what foods to avoid. When I use dream incubation, or where you can ask a question to the dream, whether you do that before you fall asleep, so you kind of fall asleep meditating on a question. That's one way I do it, and see what you get. So I've done that with asking questions about, is it time to get an MRI, and wait for the answer. It's been a couple heavy years, Catherine.
Well, yes, it has. I mean, you got diagnosed in October 2019. And I'm doing the math, and I'm like 4 or 5 months later, everything else hit the fan. And if it's an immune
it's
thing
been over
for
2
you,
years.
that's tough for with COVID. If your immune system is really depressed.
Well, not anymore.
Oh,
I think
good.
I've used non-toxic and natural, and functional medicine the whole time. So I have a team of naturopaths or even medical doctors that are more functional and integrative, and so I really believe my immune system is probably the best it's ever been. I feel really healthy.
That's great.
But it's I think due to taking this seriously and the dreams showing me to slow down in my life. So I had to close and leave, some private practices. I moved from the city into the forest, into the mountains. I made a lot of changes, but then I also shown in a dream that I needed to buy a cold pressed juicer and start cold pressed juicing vegetables every day and things like this. So just a lot of changes, but it feels comforting to be shown, to be given instruction and shown some direction while I'm asleep.
Yeah, really. And, it's coming from you. It's not like someone interpreted your dream and said, oh, this means,
Right.
take that. It's you with your own dreams exploring what comes out of them. Sounds like very specific
I find
instructions, too.
It's so interesting. I've found it really mind-boggling how some of the dreams are so direct. I mean, literally, eat cauliflower. and collard greens was another. And I had never really touched collard greens prior to that. But now I eat collard greens all the time.
A little bacon, collard greens, little bacon bits. That's my tip there.
So now, I mean, honestly, I juice them or put them in a smoothie. I mean, chop them up, stir fry them with some eggs. So dreams can be really direct like that. But then also these other really more, stranger ones. I had one where I was told I needed a catalytic converter, for example. So
Interesting.
and that
some
was
charcoal pills, maybe. I don't know.
Well, again, I do what my naturopath say, but who knows? I'm taking a lot of supplements right now. Charcoal might be in some of them.
Be, yeah.
But a few months after, I was told I needed a catalytic converter in a dream, and this was February 2020, and that I needed more than one, which was interesting, right? Because you only have one with a car, but I needed more than one. And so it was around that time, too, that I started learning about how detoxification is very important in these processes, because a lot of the chronic illnesses are tied to what we eat. And how we, and how we live and how we think and feel and all that, of course, but definitely tied to those, even those more kind of foundational behaviors. So it was funny because when I woke up from that dream, I was like, what's a catalytic converter? I knew they belonged to vehicles, but I'm not a car person. So I had to Google up what is it. Right. I looked at what it looked like, what it does.
Well, it
and
takes
all this.
the toxins out so you don't smog up the atmosphere. They're wonderful things.
Yes. Yeah. And I learned that my body just needed
to get the toxins
more
out.
of them. Yeah, so that helped go, okay, so, I'd be sure I'm doing this stuff. But, yeah, my medical team was right on it. And it was, great to see what they did. And now, of course, I'm sure you can imagine my diet's very limited.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad you found a way through it,
Yeah, I think it's a lifestyle to manage a chronic illness, non-conventionally, and it just becomes like a new lifestyle, let's say. So I'll probably be doing my protocol for years, but I can definitely rely on dreams to tell me if it's the wrong direction for my body. Or not. And that's what we have to remember. I'm just sharing stories of my body, my journey, but everyone's body and everyone's journey is different. So you got to just do what your intuition, of course, using expert medical advice and naturopathic advice, but also following, your own intuition, your own dreams, because everybody is different.
A lot of times I get a gut feeling. Like, Like recently,
absolutely.
I've given up drinking beer because I've never really loved it, and I'm gluten sensitive.
Oh, beer will kill it then.
And I'm finally like, what am I doing? And now
Exactly.
I drink cider instead, and it feels so much better. It's like, but that's like my gut talking to me, like, every time you have a beer, it just doesn't feel right. So.
Oh, that's so funny. You said gut and reminded me, and I didn't even mention it in the show yet. I had tons of dreams, like half dozen, that were all about pipes.
Oh, interesting.
And clogged pools, clogged kitchen sinks, clogged toilet came up over and over.
Dreams. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And it was so cool because eventually after working on my gut, being gluten-free, because that's like the number one thing. If people can be gluten-free, that's like the biggest gift they can give to their body and their gut. But anyway, after about a year being gluten-free, toilets were finally flushing in the dreams. And I took that as a feedback signal because many dreams before that, they would not flush. Right. And so I woke up from a dream where the toilet did flush about a year later of kind of detox and avoiding gluten. And I was so happy. Like I woke up really excited after that dream. But I forgot. I'm so glad you were talking about that guy because I didn't even mention it during this whole thing. And those dreams were some big ones because they were recurring. They were all different, but they were recurring in that the underlying theme was clogged pipes or like pools needing to be completely drained, for example. Things like that.
So I think that's the body kind of working it out. And So Kim, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Oh, well, you could go to my website. It's consciouschimera.com. And the reason I have that is because that name, I know it's not easy, but I had a dream with a little chimera in my hand, and that's that like mythological being that has like a snake. It's like a lion body, but like with a goat coming out of its back and a snake tail. There's a few different versions, but a chimera is this like a multi-part, multifaceted being, and depending on who you read, will interpret the being differently.
It's a magical beast, basically.
Yes. And so I would dream with mythological or magical beasts. And anyway, it went from a small chimera in a basement that I found into me in more of a guided imagery state, kind of merging with one or riding one and it growing. So when I named my website Conscious Chimera to remind me of the consciousness of being conscious of all the parts, all of our different parts, and how we transform, from an initial small statuette of a chimera to a fully live, raging being, that I merged with. So hence, right, wouldn't it be easier if I just had Kim.com? But no, it's Conscious Chimera. Yeah, chimera is a Greek a Greek word, and it comes from that kind of Greek and even, I think, ancient Greco-Roman mythology. And so consciouschimera.com is where you can find me, and I blog on a lot of this stuff. So if you go to the menu and click blog, there's 5 or 6 years of articles that I've written on all of these types of things if you're interested. And that's spelled CONSCIOUS, so conscious. And then chimera is spelled CHIMERA.com. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kim. It's so good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right,
this was a fun chat, and it went by so fast.
It does. It always does, doesn't it? This is wonderful. And I'll talk to you again soon, probably at the next conference committee meeting.
Yes.
Or the ethics committee. We're both on
right,
those.
probably there. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much, Catherine. Happy New Year to you, and happy 2022 to all listeners. I hope we just have some really wonderful things come to us, because I've had a couple hard years.
Yeah, really.
With this
thank
pandemic.
You.
Yeah.
Wonderful last words. So
be well.
Right, be well. Take care.
Thank you.
So
bye-bye.
Next week, our guest will be poet, author, teacher, and artist Gilda Syverson. Gilda uses dreams as inspiration, especially in her published book of poetry, which is called In This Dream, Everything Remains Inside. And actually, I'm starting to write a little bit of dream poetry myself, so you never know. I might get inspired to share some next week. Yikes! So listen live to that broadcast next Saturday at 10 a.m. or catch the podcast replay, which is released on the Monday following the show.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss.
Thanks for listening. My name is Catherine Bell. This has been the Dream Journal. You can find out more about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com, and you can email me at catherine@ksqd.org, KATHERINE@ksqd.org. Thank you to everyone who's leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts. I'd love to get a few more. I'd also like to thank Rick Cluffel for stepping in, doing the engineering and doing the music for the show. I really appreciate that so much. And today Eric was standing by for the phones. I appreciate that willingness. So we support each other, because coming up next is 3 hours of Grateful Dead music. You know I will be tuning in. So that's all for the Dream Journal. Join us again next week. I am Catherine Bell, and you're listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.
I've just closed my eyes again, climbed aboard the dream we've